I'm a 17-year-old guy who faced the loss of my father 10 years ago. His illness was a turning point for our family. Before his passing, my father began the tradition of keeping a memory book. This book became a bridge through time for me, allowing me to preserve the warm moments of the past. My father gave a similar volume to my sister, but her interests veered toward videos, which my father also kept for her. For me, however, the book has evolved into something much more, becoming a treasured heirloom of our family memories. Over the years, I continued to supplement its pages with any moments related to my father and our family. At times, finding a random photo, I would relive those moments, revisiting them through the entries. Sometimes these pages included stories not only about my father, but also about my mother, though our connection to her became more complicated after my father left. She was convinced of the need to find us a new father, which became the cause of disagreements and arguments for my sister, and I did not share her views. 5 years ago, Mom met John, and our families came together. John, being a father of 3 children, brought a new reality to our lives. His children, deprived of a mother's care, found in my mom a new mother. John tried to take the place of a father to my sister and me, but we only saw him as a stepfather. His children became half-brothers and sisters to us, but my feelings toward them remained indifferent. I felt no hatred or affection for them, and I never thought to include them in my book of memories. Recently, when I returned from school, it turned out that my half-siblings had discovered the book. They wondered why there was no mention of their father or themselves in it. My mom, hearing their questions, insisted on looking through the book. My half-siblings expressed a desire to contribute to the book of memories, to which I reacted by refusing, explaining that the book was not for them. My mother intervened, pointing out to me that I should not refuse them and emphasized that the book should bring together the memories of our entire extended family. I tried to convince her that the book was my personal property, but she took it away for a few days. Subsequently, my sister returned it to me, and I enlisted my grandfather's help, wanting to keep the book for myself. Subsequently, my mom and John had a serious conversation with me. They emphasized that it was unacceptable to keep a book of family memories while excluding new family members. My refusals to include half-siblings or allow them to participate frustrated them. Mom insisted that the book should be a family affair to which everyone could contribute. Despite my objections that the book was my personal project, a way to preserve the memories of those dear to me, they insisted on their own. John reacted angrily to my arguments, taking them as a lack of love for the new family members. Mom added that she and John had the right to determine what counted as a family project. She also expressed that my position was disrespectful. They emphasized that it was time to grow up and accept the new reality of our family. Your unique bond with your father, reinforced through the book of memories, remains inviolate and sacred. No one has the right to dictate to you which moments you choose to preserve in this personal archive. If other family members feel the urge to create something similar, the option to start their own book is always open to them. Your decision to keep the book away from home, perhaps at your grandfather's house, seems like a wise choice given the risk of it being lost or inadvertently altered. You are right to point out that sometimes adults act unpredictably in an effort to control or alter memories and personal stories that are not their own. Creating an additional memory book for the new family history could have been a beautiful gesture of inclusion and unity, but unfortunately, this avenue was missed. Your apprehension and disagreement with the suggestion of others to use your book of memories as a family project speaks to a deep connection to the memory of your father. This sense of loss and desire to preserve his legacy is something that must be honored. It is important to remember that your memories and the way you preserve them is a part of you, and no one has the right to force you to change that at will. If the need for a family memory project arises, offering to start a new book that everyone can contribute to can be a way to compromise while keeping your personal memories intact. Discussing boundaries and respecting personal space within the family is essential, including asking your mom's husband to ensure that his children do not invade your personal territory. Your story and memories of your father deserve to be heard as you see fit and safely preserved in a place where they will be respected and untouched. Next story. At the age of 35, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. My longtime doctor strongly advised me to avoid red meat to reduce inflammation. As a result, I made the decision to give up meat completely, and my body has responded to this change in diet in an extremely positive way. Personally, I don't care if the people around me prefer to eat meat. I don't seek to change their minds. Recently, the parents of my partner, Joel, 34, organized a family barbecue for about 30 people, aunts, uncles, cousins, and grandchildren. It was a great company, excluding Dave, a 50-year-old man who used to be that uncle. Dave and his ex-wife, who went through a tumultuous divorce, are no longer considered family. Dave is known as an irrepressible alcoholic, and stories of infidelity on both sides have become common knowledge. Among the habits I've developed over the years, one of them is to eat standing up when it's deemed appropriate. Dave approached me and began to ridicule my food choices and manner of eating, claiming that my preference for standing while eating was making the rest of us uncomfortable. This was taking place at a casual family barbecue where I wasn't the only one who preferred to stay on my feet. He attempted to add a piece of brisket to my plate, claiming he would do it for my benefit, thus displaying yet another anti-vegetarian slur. He then took a bite of his hamburger, sending me a defiant look and chewing visibly, with bits of the burger visible between his teeth. With a laugh, he pronounced, "That's some meat," spraying the food around. I was sick of this, so I replied, "You know, Dave, if you'd addressed your alcoholism years ago, instead of going after the first waitress you met who was willing to do this, maybe you'd still be married." There was a deep silence and everyone present turned to look at us. Dave angrily declared that he shouldn't tolerate such a thing and walked away, leaving behind a feeling of division amongst the family. Many supported me, including Joel's in-laws. However, my mother-in-law and father-in-law expressed their displeasure, anticipating such an outcome. However, many comments from my aunts and uncles indicated that I had acted in a highly inappropriate and cruel manner, warning that I should not expect future invitations if I was going to behave in such a manner. I was overcome with doubt. Had I gone too far? I should add that Dave is aware of the diagnosis of Crohn's disease, which explains why it was futile for him to tell me to stop. My sister-in-law's comment about her pregnancy reminded me to strive to be more generous. Doubts remain, however, as to whether civil dialogue can sway this man. We know from the past that any attempts to persuade him to calmly stop his actions only provoked him to even more aggressive behavior. During my sister-in-law's pregnancy, he made obscene jokes about her weight. Given that she is by nature very frail and had gained minimal weight, his words were particularly hurtful. Her husband asked him to stop, but he only laughed in his face, claiming it was just a joke, and added, "I'll stop. I don't want her to get mad and sit on me." After the incident, they left enraged. He called them Jonah and the whale for the rest of the pregnancy, continuing to laugh in response to requests to stop. No one knew how to handle this behavior. Every time one of the cousins questioned why we were still inviting him over, the answer was invariably, "He's family." I admit that my actions may not have been the best choice. There's no denying that the situation was far from ideal. You are absolutely not to blame for what happened, as far as it is clear that this man's behavior was intolerable. His Jonah and the whale jokes only caused rudeness and dislike, with no basis for such treatment other than a desire to prove himself as a bully. This behavior is a classic example of someone incapable of accepting the very thing they are spreading. After he left you alone, you could consider your mission accomplished. Regarding the other family members, if they had been more proactive in making the alcoholic a responsible member of society and defended you when he was clearly hurting you, maybe you wouldn't have had to say what you said. This brings up the double standard of being threatened with expulsion from family events for your words, while they tolerate unacceptable behavior and even ridicule towards you. Such hypocrisy on their part needs to be condemned. At least you have shown that you are not an easy target and are willing to defend your beliefs. From my experience as a vegetarian, I can confirm that I have faced similar prejudice and unwanted comments about my choice, despite never judging anyone else's eating habits. The experiences I've had and the constant lectures about my diet are indeed disgusting and confirm what you say. Now I want to tell a different story. Growing up, my husband and I were different from those around us. I was absorbed in books and loved endless conversations, while he preferred the role of the school jokester, which unfortunately was not to everyone's liking. As we grew older, our paths crossed, leading to our marriage 2 years after we met. We were both just under 20, and even though my childhood was spent without a circle of close friends, I am not nostalgic for those times. Now I have friends with whom we keep in touch every few days and see each other from time to time. However, Because we live in different parts of the city, our meetings have become less frequent. My husband, on the other hand, has always strived to make friends, living by the motto friendship or nothing. His ideas about friendship seem to have been shaped by the movie industry. He eventually found friends at work. These relationships were close and all-encompassing, encompassing both work time and leisure time. I tried to connect with his new friends, but their behavior, full of drama and immaturity, as well as the constant ups and downs in their relationships, was not conducive to bonding. My husband began to spend less and less time at home, and I felt lucky to see him at least once on the weekend. When I tried to discuss the problem, it became obvious that these people were fulfilling his need for a strong friendship that I apparently could not replace. But I couldn't deny that he was happier than ever, and sometimes you have to accept your spouse's happiness as your own choice. Recently, my husband realized that he missed spending time with me and expressed a desire to spend time together. Apparently, this was due to the fact that his friends were getting together less frequently. He offered to arrange a date, however. I already had plans to visit the zoo alone, thanks to free tickets from work. My refusal to discuss the possibility of changing my plans and not wanting to spend time with him caused my husband to become frustrated. I explained that I couldn't just be a backup in case his plans with friends didn't work out. I am planning a visit to the zoo and intend to enjoy it. I wonder if that makes me a fool. I had previously offered my spouse to join me in January when we had the opportunity to take advantage of a limited number of weekend corporate tickets. However, he declined, claiming that he already had meetings with friends scheduled. As such, I did not proceed to purchase an additional ticket for him. I would hate to have my enjoyable day spent alone marred by the presence of someone who decided to join me just for lack of other plans. This situation is certainly capable of spoiling the mood. I would have enjoyed it if he had initiated the date arrangements himself and invited me to an event, rather than trying to force me to abandon my own plans. I look forward to the moment when he changes, stopping putting his friends above you, which has become a long-term habit. He gets the idea of asking you out now, but because of his past behavior, you no longer build expectations for a weekend with him. Now, he can wait another week instead of making a drama out of it. After all, you've already spent many weekends waiting while he was busy doing something else. Yes, he might suggest that you meet for a date at a later date, but he's not taking your plans into consideration. This behavior seems inappropriate. He has chosen his path, living a life away from you. The question arises whether he expected you to wait wholeheartedly for him to complete his affairs. Wondering why you are still maintaining this marriage comes the realization that the relationship is far from the ideal of married life. You are more like roommates than spouses. It may be time to contact a lawyer and make the breakup official. As a woman who chose the path of singleness a few years ago, I was not happy at first, but now, reading this, I realize the value of freedom. I prefer solitude, the company of friends, and independent pursuits rather than being an afterthought to someone who should have put me first. Enjoy the opportunity to visit the zoo. He may suggest another type of date that proves acceptable to both of you. My next story. About 6 months ago, I found out about my wife's infidelity. I was in a polyamorous relationship prior to marriage. However, I decided before I got married that I wanted monogamy. When I found out what she had done, I was not deeply disappointed. Perhaps if she had discussed her desire for an open relationship with me beforehand, I would have proposed divorce so that we could have explored polyamory together as a couple. I am convinced that it is impractical to marry while in a polyamorous relationship because of the legal and financial complexities involved. Therefore, upon learning of the infidelity, I immediately asked for a divorce. I am not interested in the reasons for her behavior, nor am I interested in the details. My choice is divorce. I am disgusted by the lies, and now that we are separated by a 6-month pending divorce, we are forced to live together. Neither of us wants to leave. A week after I expressed my desire to separate, I began a new relationship in search of emotional intimacy, as continuing with my wife was impossible. My soon-to-be ex-wife attempted to rebuild trust by beginning individual therapy and demonstrating efforts at personal growth. She has expressed a desire to attend couples counseling, but I don't see the point. I prefer to develop a relationship with a new partner whom I really like and in whom I see potential for the future. She is kind and sweet. In discussing with my wife the possibility of my girlfriend introducing our children to me, I have encountered her anger and frustration over my lack of understanding of her efforts to deal with her personal issues. Despite her efforts, I don't see how it would change our situation. When it came to my plans with my new partner, I shared that our relationship is progressing well and I am considering marriage in the future. I am confident that she will be a good influence for our children. In response to my words, my wife reacted with silence. Everyone here seems out of their minds. She made a mistake and her attempts to make things right do not diminish the fact that she has been harmed. She should realize and accept that. However, let's note that it has only been 6 months since the breakup and the new relationship lasted 5 months and 3 weeks. It seems premature to introduce the children into the social circle with the new partner. Their world is already upside down because of the divorce, especially since the parents are still living under the same roof. Seriously, it's unclear why steps are not being taken to protect your ex-partner's feelings. After all, as long as you are living together and raising the children together, it might be worthwhile to show less resentment. However, the welfare of the children should remain a priority. They need time to get over the divorce before a new person is introduced into their lives. Frankly, your selfishness toward the children is more repulsive than her act. That's saying a lot. Introducing a new person into the children's lives at a time like this can be confusing for them. And so when she realized the risk she was putting her family at, it was a step toward regaining a sense of security. No one should forgive infidelity or seek reconciliation without a good reason. It's good that she sought professional help, but not just in hopes of saving the marriage. This is not the only reason. It is important not to rush to introduce a new partner to the children until you start living separately. Prolonged cohabitation brings confusion to both partners' perception of the situation. Being unprepared for being alone immediately after a breakup is not a good decision. Friends can be supportive, but people over the age of 30 often see that such relationships rarely last. In this situation, it seems that someone is looking to fill an inner void or is looking for an excuse to finally leave the relationship. A story that really surprised me. Our friend Phoebe has always held vegetarian beliefs. However, she has recently decided to eliminate all animal products from her diet. In addition, Phoebe is my roommate. Every time we have Dungeons and Dragons game nights, our friends and my brother join us. The meeting place is chosen for a reason. Everyone invited, with the exception of one of us, has roommates. Always before we gather, we discuss in the group chat what we will do with the food. Whether to order it, bring everyone something different, or have me make the treats. This time, after receiving payment via PayPal, I offered to take over the cooking since I've wanted to do it for a long time. I decided to make a big batch of vegan pudding, as making a traditional version of it seemed too tedious for me. Plus, I don't like how the packaging makes me tired. As a result, everyone enjoyed the meal, and Phoebe was especially excited as she hadn't tasted pudding in a while. I emphasized that it was her lucky day, as all the dishes were vegan and she could enjoy the meal without fear, as long as she didn't add extra mozzarella. My brother Ross, however, couldn't hide his displeasure. We had an argument as he adamantly refused to try vegan food. His reasoning was based on the fact that despite Phoebe's veganism, he was under no obligation to follow that lifestyle given his love of meat. The situation escalated to the point where Ross demanded his money back and ended up walking away unable to handle his emotions. Even his girlfriend Rachel tried to calm him down, but he insisted, claiming it was a matter of principle. Throughout the evening, I continued to joke about veganism by offering Ross vegan appetizers, which made him even angrier. He ended up accusing me of arrogance and said he wouldn't get back to me until I apologized and changed my attitude. Rachel thought I had acted too radically, making vegan decisions for everyone. Phoebe felt guilty for provoking the situation, while Chandler and Joey found what was happening amusing. You're not wrong to act inappropriately. His behavior leaves no choice. It's inappropriate to behave inappropriately and then expect to be favored. He seems to have created unnecessary drama over something as petty as not having the desired food on the table. After all, if he wanted meat so badly, there was nothing stopping him from informing them in advance or bringing his own food to satisfy his preference. After all, it is extremely ridiculous to show up, sit down at a communal table, and start complaining in the presence of those who just want to have a nice time together. Indeed, some of us may behave irrationally, but frankly, it would be wonderful if you, along with Joey and Chandler, took it upon yourself to take care of the food for the entire company. Housekeeping is fine, and even a vegan cheeseburger might require a warning for some. However, I wonder if a similar warning is required for vegan pudding. Given that cheese is not a required ingredient, the frying oil can be entirely vegetable-based, and the sauce can be made 100 different ways. While I don't consider myself an expert cook, his statements came across as ill-considered and devoid of meaning, especially considering he expressed them in a place where everyone is listening.